The ultimate tournament of everything.
Welcome to the Ultimate Tournament of Everything, a bracket-style show where we compare random pages off Wikipedia to other equally random pages off Wikipedia.
That's right, and we do so by mixing them up into a frothy lather, applying that lather directly to our scalps, rubbing it in gently, and then getting in the shower and rinsing it off. Which one will give us that perfect balance of body bounce and shine? Well, that will be the one moving on to the next round of...
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Don't forget step 3, repeat. Rinse, lather, repeat. 9 times. That's how you get a full episode of the Ultimate Tournament of Everything.
Too true, too true. But Rob, why don't you tell them what we'll actually be doing?
We will actually be picking random pages off Wikipedia using a random Wikipedia page link. We will be comparing those 2 by 2 over 9 rounds to figure out which of those 9 would move on to a hypothetical next round. When will that next round be? Well, we don't know, because there are a lot of Wikipedia pages we have to get through first.
A veritable infinite amount of them, and so let us waste no time and get directly in to round 1.
In round 1, we have Jacob Magnus Sprangt-Porten against Shine Lawyers.
Okay. We have 2 just remarkable characters to start off this very episode. Sprang Porton, we'll see if he'll be able to spring to the top. Shine Lawyers, they are just shiny. We can tell that from a glance. Let's see which one will come out victorious.
Baron Jacob Magnus Sprangt-Porten was a Swedish-Finnish army officer and politician, and half-brother of George Magnus Sprangt-Porten. He's most famous as one of the leaders of the Revolution of 1772, a coup d'etat which ended the age of constitutional monarchy in Sweden, known as the Age of Liberty, and ushered in the period of absolute monarchy known as the Gustavian era. I feel like it's not a great coup when you go, hey, we had a king and some rules, to, hey, there's a king and there are no rules.
Yeah, if you are known as one of the people that ended an age of liberty, that might not bode so well for you, but let's dig in here. Father was an individual, also a baron, resided in Borga, now Porvoo in Finland, which was then part of the Kingdom of Sweden. He was a major in the Swedish army, and Magnus here, our good friend, that was his father, served in the army of King Charles the 12th during the Great Northern War. This is a lot about his father, and he followed in his footsteps, joining the Swedish army as a volunteer in 1739 at the age of 12.
Yeah, I don't know if you're quite a volunteer at 12. They might have just been like, hey, you fit in the uniform, here, hold this musket. I'm assuming, given the time period. But let's talk about what everyone wants to hear about, this coup attempt. So his status as a war hero and his prior familiarity with Finnish fortifications led to his being selected in 1766 to compose a report on the state of Finland's border defenses, and his subsequent lobbying of the government to implement his recommendations drew him into politics for the first time. At that time, Sweden was governed as a constitutional monarchy under the instrument of government, with the king being essentially a figurehead and the real power resting with the Riksdag of the estates, or their parliament. And apparently this was not what they wanted, so they overthrew it so they could just have a completely authoritarian monarchy.
Yeah, and as is still kind of common, there were 2 main parties in Riksdag at the time. There were the Caps, who were generally favoring the promotion of commerce and had close ties to the Russian Empire as well as Great Britain. And then there were the Hats, who were the revanchist, who had revanchist dreams of rebuilding the Swedish Empire and therefore favored an alliance with France and became a more bellicose foreign policy. So you had the Hats and the Caps, and this was a battle to see who would be on top.
These are such silly names. I thought the Jets and the Sharks were dumb names when I heard them. These names are worse. Let's move on to its competitor here. Shine Lawyers, an Australian law firm specializing in personal injury compensation law, operating in a no-win, no-fee basis. So these are basically the J.G. Wentworth of Australia.
I wish I could remember their slogan and then make a little joke about it right now, but I haven't seen the commercials in a while. Maybe they haven't been doing so well. They haven't been getting those fees. I don't know, but this isn't about them. This was a law firm founded in Toowoomba in 1976, now headquartered in Brisbane, Australia, and has over 700 employees across 40 offices spanning Australia and New Zealand.
Now, Shine Lawyers was founded in 1976 by Kerry Shine, an Australian Labor Party politician who was also a member of the Legislative Assembly for 11 years and Attorney General of Queensland for 3. It was rebranded as Shine Lawyers in 2006 under then managing partner Stephen Roche and current managing director Simon Morrison. And it was one of the first law firms in the world to list on ASX, which is the Australian Public Securities Exchange.
So there are definitely some notable things that have occurred underneath the auspices of Shine Lawyers, including several cases, class action lawsuits, and even some employees. Let's dig into those just a little bit. Since 1976, Shine Lawyers has handled some difficult and widely publicized cases that have come before Australian courts, including in 2001, Shine Lawyers represented a woman who had suffered abuse as a student at a preparatory school. The civil court decided to award a record payout to the victim, and a subsequent injury led to the resignation of the Governor General, Peter Hollingworth.
Well, look at that. And they are, think of any personal injury attorney law firm that you've seen, any of those cases for like mesothelioma that you've seen, or for surgical mesh that you've seen. They actually represented someone during a surgical mesh implant case. And even Erin Brockovich consults with this law firm.
She has assisted the firm with environmental cases, class actions, and has also been featured in a number of their advertising campaigns. This is definitely a heavy hitter here, but it won't hit you hard if you do not win. However, our other competitor, Jacob Magnus Porton, definitely seemed to have hit some people. Let's jump forward and see how that coup may have turned out.
Yeah, apparently well enough. He arrived in Sveaborg in August and successfully persuaded the garrison to follow him, producing tokens from the king. However, contrary winds prevented their ships from leaving Finland for several days. They were unable to move into Stockholm immediately, move troops. In the meantime, there's an insurrection in progress, enabling the government to send out orders. It appeared that the coup had missed its window, but at this crucial moment, the king himself seized the initiative, and he managed to rally the Stockholm garrison and then marched on the Riksdag, arresting the government and formally effected the switch to an absolute monarchy. So he was successful, although I don't know if it's a good change.
Yeah, it was successful enough to receive a generous pension of 30,000 risk dollar annually. He retired to a house in Diergarten and remained a crotchety and cantankerous figure, but nevertheless received occasional visits from the king, who was genuinely grateful for his role in setting the revolution of 1772 in motion. Toward the end of his life, he attempted to write a set of memoirs, but he did fail to complete them before his death, having never been married, left no children, and just about half a book.
I think we should start calling all of our dollars risk dollars because that accurately reflects how I feel about money. It's like, oh, risk dollars. Now this makes sense. I understand. So, okay,
Absolutely.
we've read about Jacob Magnus here. I think he's a guy who I guess it was a great thing if you're that king, but probably bad for the country. And then we have people on the other end protecting the small person against the powers that be. So I think I know which way I'm falling on this one.
Yeah, we have two polar opposites, and I think that I'm going to have to go for the one that goes for the little guy and throw my penny down for Shine Lawyers.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
If they had a catchy commercial, we'd sing it now, but I don't think they do.
Shine Lawyers, right, wrong.
You hear that, Shine Lawyers? You can use that for free if you're listening. That's yours. That one
Yeah,
costs
as long
one
as you
risk
listen.
dollar.
Very risky, but I don't think that our selection here is too risky. I think it's a strong selection. And we're going to be moving Shine Lawyers on to the next round of.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
People are going to be so confused tomorrow when I call all my money risk dollars. They're going to have no idea.
They are, but people are going to be confused right now because as we just concluded round 1 of today's show, we're going to jump back and conclude round 9 of the previous show. We had a poll go out. We had a mammoth turnout. It rivaled any of the elections that just took place this week. And after long calculations, mail in ballots, in person, well, it all took place online. We do finally have a winner. Rob, would you like to announce the winner of round 9 of the previous episode?
In round 9, we had a supergroup from Korea against SGPP1, which is a something in your genome, and SGPP1 won.
Yeah, by 1 vote, too. It was very close. So let that be a lesson unto us all that every vote counts. It was seriously a massive turnout. So we'll see if this episode warrants another poll. If it comes down to that close, we couldn't decide. We had to reach out for you to help. But I think that now that it's been settled, let us help ourselves to that delicious dish, which is round 2.
It's time for round 2.
In round 2, we have the Penn York Valley against Heart Trouble. But don't worry, it's a song.
Yes, we have a place that might make your heart sing, and we have a thing that if your heart was singing, it may sing. So let's see which one of these tunes will win round 2.
The Penn York Valley, referred to locally as just the Valley, is a group of communities that straddles the New York and Pennsylvania border. It includes the villages and boroughs of Waverly, New York, Sayre, Pennsylvania, Athens, Pennsylvania, and South Waverly, not New York, but Pennsylvania. These 4 central communities have a population of 14,822 people as of the 2000 census, and a population of 14,425 as of the 2010 census. The Greater Valley has a population near 35,000 people, but unfortunately, they do not list how many families that comprises.
Well, we can only imagine that it is an astronomical amount. Due to geographic boundaries, the Penn York Valley is broken up into 2 census regions, the Binghamton metropolitan area and the Sayre micropolitan area. The valley is part of the Twin Tiers. Now, this community saw historic flooding due to rain from Tropical Storm Lee, which exceeded levels of the Mid-Atlantic United States flood of 2006, and damages to Tioga County alone were estimated to come in at around 100 million risk dollars.
There you go. Just regular American dollars. But I appreciate the spirit. There are 3 separate school districts that serve this region. There are 2 private schools mentioned here in this article. I'm sure there might be more. The Valley has 3 local bus services. The first is Ride Tioga. Ride Tioga stops through Waverly, Sayre, and Barton. The second is Best Transit. And it looks like the third is C-Tran, operating out of Elmira and making daily stops in Waverly, Willowanna, Chemung, and Points West. Now that's Chemung for our Illinois listeners, not that one. Remember, this one is out in New York or Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it'll probably never be that one, but ultimately it will be here in this ultimate tournament of everything where we go through infinity. Now, they do say that the pen is mightier than the sword, but is the Penn York Valley mightier than its other our other competitor here, Heart Trouble, a song by Steve Wariner?
Yeah, now this song is written by Dave Gibson and Kent Robbins, recorded by American country music artist Steve Wariner, released in April of 1985. The second single from the album, One Good Night Deserves Another. The song made it all the way up to number 8 on the Billboard Hot Country Singles and Tracks chart.
That's pretty high up there for any song to reach. It was released on April 6th, it seems, and it's 3 minutes and 29 seconds long, produced by the label MCA and individual producers Tony Brown and Jimmy Bowen. That's about all we know, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty short article, and I don't know really anything about this Steve Wariner guy. He's still alive. He's still making music. He's got 2 kids. His singles have reached #1. All Roads Lead to You, Some Fools Never Learn, You Can Dream of Me, Life's Highway, Small Town Girl, The Weekend, Linda, Where Did I Go Wrong, I Got Dreams, and What If I Said. I think I've heard What If I Said. I think. The rest of them are drawing massive blanks in my country sparse brain.
Well, what if I said we should jump back over to our other contestants so we can talk about some radio stations that this song may have played on? They've got several on the AM and FM dials, including WAVR, WATS, WEBO. They also have several television stations. With broadcast relays, I guess there's stations coming out of Binghamton. There's a lot of them coming out of there, Elmira, and even Scranton.
Yeah. I wonder if they get the office there.
I bet you they do. Let's see, we got an ABC affiliate and a CBS affiliate. I don't recall which channel that show was on, but they're probably watching it on Netflix.
Yeah, probably. They at least get internet. Now, there's also a couple small airports that serve this area, medium-sized regional airports, and that is about all we know about this competitor as well. So now we're left with a question. And that question is, do we want to listen to country music, or do we want to visit New York or Pennsylvania?
You can do both here in the Penn York Valley, and I think that's the exact reason why I will be choosing this wonderful group of communities straddling the New York Pennsylvania border as my selection to move on to the next round of.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I think we all know I'm agreeing with you.
Awesome. Yeah, this Penn York Valley certainly, if not mightier than the sword, in this case, mightier than heart trouble. And if you're having heart trouble, you should definitely go see a doctor. Speaking of going and seeing, let's go see ourselves into that wonderful scenic round 3.
It's time for round 3.
If you listen carefully, you can almost hear the train track we're on in round 3. In round 3, we have Streptomyces minitus scleroticus. Okay, good luck with that one. Oh, this word's not any easier
I'm
to
excited.
pronounce. Osanjiki, but the S has a V on the top of it, and the I has an apostrophe over it. So, good luck.
Yes, good luck to both of these contestants. Let's see which one of them. Well, this is going to be a quick one here. We're going to read both of them in entirety. So let me take a turn. Streptomyces minutiscleroticus is a bacterium species from the genus of Streptomyces. Streptomyces minutiscleroticus produces the antibody aburamycin.
Great. And its competitor, Ozanjiki, is a village in the municipality of Stalik, Bosnia and Herzegovina. According to the 2013 census, it has a population of 1,004. End of article.
Indeed, sometimes we have to dig around, fill in some gaps, and just really do our best. Now, at least for this village in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we do have a breakdown of ethnicities here. 70, let's say 5% Bosniaks. There are some Croats, some Serbs. For a total, if you add all the percentages of all of the people there, you get 100%.
Yeah, that's always good. It's always good when your percentages add up to 100. Otherwise, someone's percenting wrong. Now, we occasionally do run across some competitors that not much is written about and have to compare those two. And that's what we have here. We have a village of people and a small bacteria. Now, I think the bacteria is probably more important because we use it to make antibiotics. And I bet these people love their little village, and I bet it's lovely. But this village is missing something important that villages in this competition usually have. This one
Antibiotics.
this one is not in Iran.
That's true. That is true. It's closer to Iran than we are at this present moment.
True.
But I think that this bacterium species Yeah, I think that we use it. We need it. I think that this other place, although likely there's something from there that we use and need, but we could also probably get it from somewhere else. It doesn't seem as though you can get this particular antibiotic from anywhere else, at least from the limited amount of information we have available to us.
I keep telling you, you can buy bread other places. I keep telling you this. You don't have to keep going to Zanjiki to buy bread.
Well, I'm just sick of having to go and get antibiotics, so that's why I keep trying to make my own.
I think
So
we've decided.
I think we have. Let's throw it down. Rob, should we say it together in unison?
Nope, we shouldn't.
All right, it's for the one with the weird name.
Everything.
I wasn't even going to give you a chance to pronounce it incorrectly a fourth time.
Yeah, let us not offend this small bacterium, and let us not delay in proceeding into that wonderful place which is round 4.
My round 4 is ready.
In round 4, we have Walls, a song, against The Unquiet Grave in Anthology.
Absolutely. Walls Circus, in parentheses, is a song by Tom Petty. The Unquiet Grave is an anthology of fantasy and horror stories. Let's see which one of these will entertain us into the next round.
Walls, parentheses, Circus, is a song written by Tom Petty and recorded by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It was released in July of 1996 as the first single from their soundtrack album, Songs and Music from She's the One. The song features Lindsey Buckingham on background vocals. The song peaked at number 69 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart and was recorded at Sound City Studios by engineer Sylvia Massey.
Now, there was also an alternate arrangement of this song, which was played at a faster tempo. It was also included on the soundtrack under the title Walls, parentheses, number 3. And the song was later covered by Glenn Campbell, of all people, on his 2008 album, Meet Glenn Campbell, and by the Lumineers, hey, on the first anniversary of Tom Petty's death.
I didn't know what Glenn Campbell looked like until I got this hyperlink of Glenn Campbell. Okay, so there you go. If you don't know what Glenn Campbell looks like either, Wikipedia will help you out.
He looks like a lot of people's grandpas looked like in the 60s.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of looking like things from the 60s, let's jump over to our other competitor. The Unquiet Grave, again, an anthology of fantasy and horror stories, which was edited by American writer August Derleth and was first published by Foursquare Books in 1964.
Now, this anthology contains 15 stories from Derleth's earlier anthology, The Sleeping and the Dead. Many of the stories had originally appeared in the magazines Weird Tales, Esquire, and Black Mask. I feel like you can't take an anthology and then just take some of the things out and make it a new anthology. You've just made a shorter, newer, not newer anthology. This seems like cheating.
It's kind of like one of those, now that's what I call fantasy and horror stories, type of paper albums, if you will. This contains a number of stories. You have as the starting track or story here, The Shadows by Henry S. Whitehead, followed by Carnaby's Fish by Carl Jacobi, and then The Painted Mirror by Donald Wandre. It goes on from there. The final story, the headliner, if you will, was The Last Pin by H.W. Guernsey.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the entirety of nearly both of those articles. A horror anthology is kind of interesting to me because I feel like I feel like that, maybe I'm out of the loop on the horror genre, but I feel like there aren't that many books in there now that we have Netflix.
Well, if that was the case, we wouldn't have Stephen King. But then again, Stephen King has just become his stories have just become a portal for movies. So maybe it's all just one and the same. However, I think that, yeah, I would like to dig into this anthology. I believe it has a whole bunch of different short stories. I like them that they're short. You know, I can get through them that way. They're scary. There was only 254 pages, but there were How many stories here? 15, did we say? So you do the math. That's not that long for each.
No, and I think I'm going to be a heartbreaker here, and I'm going to break the hearts of the heartbreakers, and I'm going to give the unique grave 15 more uncanny tales of horror the win to move on to the next round.
I agree. I agree. Tom Petty, you're free falling right out of this competition. The Unquiet Grave, you have raucous your way into the next round of.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
It will
I'm
probably
scared
not
to
go
look.
quietly into round 2 either.
I don't think so. That album cover, the cover of the book here is pretty terrifying. It got some, looks like tree faces coming to life, scary, terrifying. And speaking of scary and terrifying, there's nothing scarier than round 5.
Round 5.
In round 5, we have Famelica against Janice Monk.
Truly, we do. Two very different competitors facing off within the same ring. Let's see which one will be able to defeat the other and move on to the next round.
Well, Famelica is a genus of sea snail, which are marine gastropod mollusks in the family Rhophidiidae. And this includes Famelica Betrudis, Famelica catherinae, Famelica marimindina, Famelica monoceros. It sounds like some of these were named after where they were found, and some of these were named after people.
Famelica is a pretty sweet word. I like it. I like to say it, and I like to hear it. Now, there's a picture here of the Famelica Scipio, and I'm gonna just say, okay, if they're all the family, there's probably some traits that they share. This is a thin, if you know what a conch shell looks like, it's not so dissimilar if you just stretched it out a bit. Real pointy, probably not that big, but these are homes to tiny little creatures. How do they make the shells? Did they make them? They make them themselves. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Sea snails are surprisingly cool. Now, I wonder if Janice Monk is also surprisingly cool.
I'm sure she is. For Janice Monk is an Australian American feminist geographer and researcher in the Southwest United States, as well as an emeritus professor at the University of Arizona School of Geography, Development, and Environment.
She was raised in Sydney, Australia, and holds a BA with honors in geography from the University of Sydney. She moved to the U.S. on a scholarship, taking an MA and PhD from the University of Illinois. The topic of her PhD was pioneering, the social conditions of Aboriginal people in rural New South Wales, Australia, living in white-majority communities. She restudied these communities in the 2000s and continued to work at Illinois as an assistant professor of geography from 1972 to 1980. She then moved to Tucson, Arizona, to join the Southwest Institute for Research on Women at the University of Arizona, in that same year serving as its executive director. She then, after all of her great work, retired, and then became a research professor of geography and development, and then emeritus professor, which doesn't sound like retirement at all. And she was also even the president of the Association of American Geographers as an Australian.
Clearly, this individual has made a ton of contributions, many of them very significant to social and cultural geography, with a particular focus on women and minority groups in the United States and Mexico. About their livelihoods and health. Her work at SIROW included several large research grants for cross border and regional support to women's groups and minority communities, totaling $6,500,000 risk dollars. Her The Desert Is No Lady project chartered the unwritten history of woman pioneers in the U.S. West, resulting in an award winning book and film.
Now, her contributions to the discipline of geography include more than 100 articles, and she is regarded as a pioneer. She's been cited 250 times in other articles, and she contributes more broadly to the importance of recognizing women in higher ed and mentors many female faculty members.
She was also recognized for her recognition of women in several forms, a doctora honoris causa, an honorary PhD from the Autonomous University of Barcelona. She received a laureate d'honneur from the International Geographical Union, Outstanding Achievement Award from the Society of Women Geographers. The list goes on and on. And there's even a Janice Monk Service Award. It's named after her. It's awarded annually by the Geographic Perspectives on Women group of the Association of American Geographers. And a Janice Monk lecture in feminist geography is also held and published in the journal Gender, Place, and Culture.
Now, we could keep reading her accolades and slowly spiral up and up and up to the very pinnacle of her career, just like we would to the very tip of a snail's shell. And I think this woman has so many great things to talk about that we would never reach the truly tip top.
No, I believe that you're right. And if there was anything more to say, now the first four letters of this snail do spell out fame, but if its fame was so well deserved, there'd probably be more than one sentence to their article. And so, for all of the reasons that we've just gone through, yes, absolutely. Janice Monk, you are awesome. And we're moving you on to the next round of.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Just a very, very impressive person.
Yeah, they should name a snail after her.
Ooh, that'd be great. I wonder if they take
Yeah.
submissions.
Yeah, we've got all these Latin names for stuff, but they're hard to pronounce and even harder to remember. So why can't we just name them after awesome things and people?
Let's just start calling any snail we see Janice Monk.
Absolutely. Well, maybe we won't do that. What we will do is move on to round 6.
Make the turn around the last curve. He comes around the last side, and there you have it. There is your winner, round 6.
In round 6, we have Prokoto against Peduchatrum.
Yes, indeed, we do. Again, a location versus a location. Finally, a fair fight. Let's see which one of these will be able to establish themselves as the location, the place to be, when it shows up in the other place to be, round 2.
Our first location is a district of Milan, Italy, Prokoto. It's part of Zone 2 of the administrative division located northeast of the city center. And until 1920, it was an autonomous commune. Then it merged with an adjacent commune of Gorla into Gorla Prokoto. Procato? Someone who's Italian will correct me.
Let's call the whole thing off.
In 1923, it was annexed to Milan.
Now, this name that we've been discussing and arguing over just within ourselves apparently has been disputed for some time. Some scholars suggested it might be from the pre and cot in Lombard language, meaning burnt gasland, while others have it derived from Prea Catum, supposedly the name of an old inn located on the road from Milan to Monza.
Now, its competitor, Puduchatram, is a town in Panchayat located in the Namakkal district of India. The latitude, 11.384679, and the longitude, 78.162495, are the geocoordinates of Puducham. This is the headquarter of the Puduchatram block. I'm missing a syllable in there, and I apologize.
We are doing so good. Now, there is a population of 10,000 people here in this town, and I bet you all of them do know how to pronounce it. At least, most of them. Maybe not all, but a lot of them definitely know how to say it better than we do. And of those 10,000 people, there are 6,000 households. And all of those people are overseen by a government. Now, there's a government higher secondary school is a past years in Anachatram. Its process is passengers eat and staying. This is an interestingly written article we're going to have to suss through. We can't just fly over it.
Well, you wouldn't want to fly over a place this great. This is actually a very fast-growing area, having facilities like a bus station, a water facility, hospital, bank, school, college, market, and even shops. And do not forget that its main agricultural industry, or the main industry in general, is everyone's favorite industry, the dairy business.
Absolutely. You could just smell that dairy air from here. Now, there are several cities and towns nearby, including Salem, Trichy, Coimbatore, Eridor, and Tripur. And there are tourist places around there as well, including Colas Hills, which was ruled by a king named Valvil Ori, one of the seven kings of the Sangam age. And there's even a statue for him located at Semedu at a distance of 58 kilometers from Puduchatram.
Well, and we can't forget the other tourist place, your code. Now, I tell you what it was, but it doesn't list it and it's not hyperlinked. That is the extent of the article. So now we get to the age old question that everyone has had: India or Italy? India or Italy?
I think this is really fun. This is an interesting battle here. But you know what's going to sell it for me? We are presently recording this in the dairy state of America, and good golly, if I'm not glad to be able to get some fresh cheese curds. I bet you they're in the beautiful region of Puduchatram. They've got probably the freshest you can even imagine, and I'm not sure. I'm not seeing any reference to cows, cheese, or dairy in Prakota.
Yeah, you know what, Italy? You're so pretentious. Everyone talks about, oh, I'm going to Milan. I'm going to Milan. Great. No one cares, okay? We don't care. What we do care about? Cheese.
Yeah, keep your fashion, Milan. We're going to go with our cheese curds and move on Pudu Chatram to the next round of.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I don't need to care about fashion when my clothes are always changing because I don't fit into them because cheese curds are delicious.
Absolutely. And I got nacho cheese on about half of the things I own. Speaking of over half, we're going to move on to round 7.
Round 7. Round 7. Round 7. Round 7.
In round 7, we have Lonrist against Princess, the film.
We have a place that's so beautiful you could make a whole movie about it versus a thing that they actually already made a movie about. It's a movie into of itself. So let's see which one of these will be worthy of our round 2 silver screen.
Lonrist, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Lanrwst, which apparently means Church or Parish of St. Grist, Grwst. The Welsh, there's no vowels. As a market town and community on the A470 road and the River Conway in Conway County Borough, Wales, in the historic county of Denbighshire. It developed around the wool trade and became known also for making harps and clocks. Today, less than a mile from the edge of Snowdonia, its main pursuit is tourism.
Absolutely. And it looks like a beautiful place to go and tour. It was the site of the original church dedicated to Saint. There's not a vowel in that word.
Nope, I told you.
Grst and Caerleon in Linhurst, land now occupied by the Sion Methodist Chapel. The current church of St. Grst is on land which was donated in about 1170 by a member of the royal family of the Kingdom of Gwynedd, and specifically to build a new church so dedicated. This is a place that goes way, way, way back.
Lonrwst also has 2 railway stations, Lonrwst and North Lonrwst, which apparently maybe aren't way, way away from each other, just, north and south. There's even one that terminates on the Conway line before being extended to Betws y Coed. So there's been a train there since at least the 1800s. A lot of the pictures look like what you would imagine. If you've ever played Skyrim, it looks like Skyrim.
I've never played Skyrim, but I have watched movies before. And speaking of movies, let's jump over to our other contestant, Princess, the 2006 Danish animated drama film directed by Anders Morgenthaler and co-written by Morgenthaler and Mette Hinu. It tells the harsh story of a 32-year-old missionary named August, whose sister, a former adult film star named Princess, had died of a drug abuse and left her 5-year-old daughter behind.
Yeah, they apparently then adopts the child and they embark on a violent mission of vengeance to destroy all the existing movies featuring Princess. Okay.
So it's a tale of redemption, you might say. This is rated for mature audiences, so don't maybe necessarily go check it out if you're at work or anything like that. But it did win several awards, including at 3 European film festivals. Was nominated for the 2007 Robert Award for the best Danish film.
Denmark, you need more films. What is going on? Didn't like
I'm
The
sh-
Dark Knight come out in that year? Were you guys paying attention, Denmark? What are you doing?
It sounds though as though this movie might have held up a fair fight to the Dark Knight. I am the princess.
I am the knight. We get it. We get it.
So yeah, basically we've got a film that is about vengeance and trying to we have this Danish film, let us just say, versus this old town which has stood the test of time.
Yeah, the town's been around for a very long time. Still around currently. Has some famous people. Evan Owen Allen, Peter Thomas, who was Baron Thomas of Gwydir, Mark Roberts, Kai Owen, Glenn Wise. Lots and lots of famous people. They even have two senior soccer teams.
They do. I was just looking at that. Football clubs. What are you going to do? I don't see any reference to football clubs in this article about the other movie. I gotta say, honestly, this place has stood, as I said, the test of time, and I'm kind of feeling like, who am I to remove it from existence at this time? There are lots of movies. While I'm sure Princess is great, a princess is well, three European Film Festival awards probably have been held in this town of Leon First, and so I got to think that it probably contains other movies that would fare pretty well against it. I think that I'm rooting for the town.
Yeah, I think I got to root for the town as well. The whole premise of the movie is that they're getting rid of things so they don't last into perpetuity, where this town will be standing strong into round two and into forever.
Absolutely. Leon Verst, you're the Leon best. Moving on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
really good times. I am going to have to check out that movie though.
Okay.
Yeah, and the town. Maybe I'll rent the movie while I'm in the town, and I'll finally be able to come to terms with real peace with our decision. Speaking of real peace, let's go to that real peaceful place called Round 8.
I say, would you by chance have any round 8?
Round 8!
In round 8, we have Molinova against Al-Latif.
Molinova, which is all in, looks like the Bohemian region of the Czech Republic, versus Al-Latif, which is all an Egyptian Masonic publication. Let's see which one of this is going to take all of the glory here in round 8.
Molinova is a municipality and village in the Reykjavik district in the central Bohemian region of the Czech Republic and has about 100 inhabitants. Its flag has what looks like to be a raspberry on it. It was mentioned for the very first time in 1585 and has a total area of 3.28 kilometers at an elevation of 480 meters.
So this is a very, very small town with a very, very small population who seems to be touting a very, very small berry on their flag, but it is a pretty sweet design. It's a crest of red and white alternately on different hemispheres of the flag. And the berry placed on top of that in the center is alternating, contrasting with the red and white. It's pretty cool. I would kind of like a t shirt of that.
Now, its competitor, Al Latif, the Egyptian Masonic publication, existed between 1885 and 1896 and was headquartered in Cairo. Now, at the time when it launched to improve the Masonic activities in Egypt. Its editor and founder was Shaheen Mayakiris, who was the husband of Mariam Nimr, sister of the journalist of Ferris Nimr. The magazine was published by Ferris Nimr's publishing house, which also owned a newspaper.
Now, Al Latif contained many articles about women, including biographies of leading women. It also covered writings about the search for progress, the defense of individual freedoms, rejection of the oppressive use of authority, respect for the laws that govern society, compassion for the weakest, and eventually respect for women. And all of these topics were discussed based on the principles of the Freemasonry.
The magazine played a significant role in the unveiling of the Egyptian woman. And now, Mariam Nimr was among the contributors until her death in 1898. Another major contributor was Amir Amin Arslan and Salma Quizlati. Al Latif folded, unfortunately, in 1896. That's unusual.
Now,
So she contributed until her death, but it stopped being 2 years earlier.
Well, perhaps it had just come on like a single sheet, and then once it turned into like a magazine form, then they were able to fold it. It's not unusual for a magazine to fold. That's kind of how they work. Interesting wording there. Maybe it was on just a big long piece of paper, for it seemed as though they had a lot of important things to say and write about and share with all of us to be enjoyed in perpetuity. But doesn't look like they're producing anymore presently. Is Melanova producing anything other than raspberries?
Wouldn't that be enough, though? I mean, raspberries.
Raspberries are pretty sweet, but they're also kind of sour.
Yeah, that's the best part. That's why it's a raspberry.
It depends when you get them, but honestly, the one that's I think more delicious here is this publication existing and no longer existing, but look, in the time frame that it was created, it was doing a lot of good work, talking about a lot of good things. I don't know anything about Masonic principles, but I do know that it's never too soon to start talking about issues around equality and respect and compassion. And it seems as though even in difficult and at this point kind of far back times, they were doing so. And I have never heard a raspberry say a single word.
They go,
Oh, I get you. Yeah, up on your tummy. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
it's a great sound for your listening pleasure on your commute, everybody. You're welcome. I was
Yes.
going to drop the tiebreaker button, but I have been convinced. I've come around to your side.
Huzzah, huzzah, let us all celebrate that which is women and that which is all Latif.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
We are now to that time, everyone's final
truly are.
time in round 9.
Let's ring the bell and get in to round 9.
It's about time for round 9. Round 9.
In round 9, we have Frank Bernard Wern against Farid Per 2.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this one. Now we've got an individual who was a recipient of a prestigious award. We'll get into that in a second, versus a constituency in a nation yet to be disclosed, for there's not much of this article and we got to leave something to the imagination. So let's unveil the secrets.
Frank Bernard Wern, born March 1st, 1894, passed away June 28, 1917, was an English recipient of the Victoria Cross, the highest and most prestigious award for gallantry in the face of the enemy that can be awarded to British and Commonwealth forces. Now, Wern was born to Frank and Ada Morris Wern, the third of their 5 children. One of his brothers, Captain Keith Morris, was another casualty of World War I, falling in the Battle of Arras in May of 1917.
He was only 24 at the time. Now, his sister married Thomas Clinton Pears, a great-great-grandson of soap manufacturer Andrew Pears, and Thomas and Edith were passengers on the RMS Titanic. Edith survived. Thomas was lost. But let's get back to Frank. Before joining the British Army, he attended school, and when he was 23 years old and a second lieutenant in the 3rd Battalion, Essex Regiment, British Army, attached to the 10th Battalion, during the Great War. That was when there was only one of those, and they didn't realize that there would be a second one. The following deed took place for which he was awarded the Victoria Cross. On the 28th of June, 1917, east of Loos, France, he commanded a small party in a raid on the enemy's trenches, had gained his objective in the face of fierce opposition, and managed to maintain his position against repeated counterattacks. And then, realizing that if the left flank was lost, his men would have to give way, he leapt upon the parapet and, followed by his left section, ran along the top trench firing and throwing bombs. And while doing so, he was severely wounded, but continued directing operations until he received 2 more wounds, the second of which was mortal.
Brave and valiant to the very, very end.
And just throwing bombs. But let's see what type of explosive facts we can learn about our other contestant, Faridpour 2.
I'm hoping there are no actual explosives.
I hope so too.
It's part of the Parliament of Bangladesh. This constituency encompasses Nagarkanda and Saltha Upzillas and the one union parishta of Sadarpur in Upzilla. Now, this constituency historically was created for the first general elections in the newly independent Bangladesh held in 1973. Ahead of the 2008 general election, the Election Commission redrew constituency boundaries to reflect population changes revealed by the 2001 census. The districting altered the boundaries of this constituency, and then it lists winners of these elections throughout time. They're about as boring as I think the things we've been looking at yesterday or today.
I mean, this is a group of people in a place represented by individuals. Is that about the long and the short of it?
Yeah, that's about it. It is a republic of some kind.
Okay. A veritable constituency, one might say. In fact, we have said. Now, I'm sure that there is a lot of notable stuff being discussed in their parliament, a lot of important things being passed and proposed, and I just don't think that it's near as exciting as that war story that we just read about our good friend Frank Bernard Weirn.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all.
If I was going to make a movie about either this war hero or a constituency in Parliament, now is this the type of Parliament where they yell at each other and throw shoes and chairs and things?
Well, I think that's all parliaments.
And that's why we went to a Congress form.
No, that still happened in Congress. One guy beat another guy with a cane.
Oh yeah, that did happen
back
indeed.
in those more civil times.
Yeah. So nothing has really changed except for the fact that we're moving Frank Bernard Weirn on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I'd give you an award, but I think it would only be disrespectful considering you already were the recipient of the Victoria Cross.
Absolutely, and well deserved. Seriously, I think it'd make a pretty sweet movie, but a sad ending. However, this, the Ultimate Tournament of Everything, has a happy ending. For here we are on the precipice of infinity as we stand every single day. You can find full-length episodes just like this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on every other day of the week, we do a scouting report, where we look at just one prior to their appearance in this competitive stadium, which is the full-length Ultimate Tournament of Everything episodes every single day. We hope that you join us. Gives you an opportunity to rate, comment, subscribe, and of course, always tell all of your friends that your favorite podcast is
The ultimate tournament of everything.